listeners to the Next Level podcast, the podcast that'll push your business to the next level. And in today's episode, we're going to have an amazing expert in CX. Thank you so much for being here with me again, Katrina.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
And before you'll know who is here with me, let me introduce him first. So, our guest today is Sergio Frias, a former senior executive in the aerospace industry with leadership roles at Embraer and Bombardier. An engineer by training, he was brought to Canada in 2013 to lead a global contract strategy at Bombardier. At Embraer, he created the transformation with the Transformation NICE methodology, which became the foundation for his new chapter as a customer experience expert. Today, he leads CXHUB, a consulting firm helping companies turn CX into real business impact. Thank you so much, Sergio, for being here with us.
Yeah, wow, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to interact with you guys.
Beautiful.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And to start into this episode, where we're going to talk a lot of things regarding CX for sure, and also explore a little bit your experience, like playing some high-level roles in Bombardier and Embraer. But let me start to try to combine both in one question so we can start this conversation. My first question too is, how has customer experience played a central role in your career from Embraer to Bombardier and now from CXHUB?
Well, actually, it all started when I was a kid. I used to love to see my father working because he was a bank manager, and he was he was an amazing track record in terms of results because he had a very close relationship with customers. And I was amazed to see. I was like 10 years old. I used to go to his office and I saw the customers coming in with that face like, not a good day, right? So a day that was a bad day, clearly. And my father talked to them in a way that somehow he turned their day around and made it a very, very good day. So the customers, after like half an hour, left the office smiling and they hugged my father, some kissed my father. And I was like, what happened here? How come this man can transform a person's day like that? And when I was a kid, I was always thinking, that's what I want to do when I grow up. But life happens. I didn't do any of that. I became an engineer, square. I did a lot of square things, a lot of things that I really didn't like to do, didn't enjoy, but that was part of the process. And I worked in construction, then construction industry, then tobacco industry. By the way, I hate cigarettes, but that was an opportunity for me to grow
and
from stepping the mud every day to wearing suit and tie and driving expensive cars and stuff. So I took the opportunity. And after a year, a friend of mine invited me to visit the Embraer production line. I love operations. I love the production line. And back in the day, I was a supply chain guy. Something that I never thought of, I not even knew that supply chain existed when by chance, I became a supply chain professional. And this guy invited me. I went there and he said, look, my boss wants to interview you. So, but I'm not ready. I don't care. Let's do it. So I had, that was clearly an ambush. Then he interviewed me, and then at the end of an hour and a half talking, he said, you know what? You like trouble, and I have trouble. So I'll send you an offer tomorrow, and you're going to come work for us at Embraer. So he gave me, the next day, he sent me an offer that I couldn't say no, because I would have the privilege of going back 2 steps in my career because I was a manager already and I became a contracts administrator. I would have the privilege of making 30% less money. Yeah. And I would be able to spend a lot more money because I lived in São Paulo and I have to commute every day to São José dos Campos, which is like 100 kilometers away. Wow. So that was not that tough decision because I got married right before that, and I asked my wife, what do you think? And she said, my friend, you hate cigarettes. You love airplanes. If you don't accept, you're going to be unhappy forever. And guess who will have to handle that forever? Me. So
Good
take
point.
it. We're going to figure that out. And that was interesting because I said yes. And when I got there, the, really the first day before onboarding, before training, before anything, my boss came to me and he brought 6 stacks of paper this big and he put on top of the desk and said, look, these are the 6 worst supplier contracts we have in this company, and the customers hate us because of them. Fix it. And I was like, Then I talked to a few people around me, and I realized that 5 people were there before me doing the same thing, and none of them succeeded. And then a quick look, I realized that there was like 200 problems in each contract. And then I thought, well, I'm not a genius, I'm not amazing, I'm not the best guy ever, so why, if I do the same thing that other people did, why would it change? Why would I have a different result? So I decided to do things different. And the one thing that stuck in my mind was the customers hate us because of these suppliers. And I said, you know what? Why don't I talk to the customers first to understand why they hate us? I talked to them, and they didn't talk about 200 problems. They talked about 2 problems. I can't fix 200 problems, but I can fix 2 problems. And that's what I did. So before talking to suppliers, I talked to the customer. I focused my attention on what really matters for those who decide whether they buy or not our products.
Among all those problems, right?
Yeah, and then I talked to the supplier and said, oh, yeah, those 2 we can fix. So I quickly fixed those, and the customers were happy, and they said that to my boss. In 6 months, I was promoted. And then after another 8 months, I was promoted again. So I became a manager as I used to be. So I closed the gap in a little over 1 year. And then after that, I kept growing. And I realized that by speaking the language of the customer, I could open a lot of doors. So people listen, because when you're talking the customer language, you're talking about revenue, income, money, profit. You can only get customers to buy if you deliver what makes them happy, right? If you are able to solve their problems. And that's what I was trying to do. And then because of that, I grew very fast. So in less than 8 years, I went from contracts administrator to vice president in charge of one of the company's business, the spare parts business. And when I took over, actually that was funny because the president of the business unit, he called me. I was in Switzerland in a business trip, and he said, look, I don't know you and you don't know me, but your fame precedes you, so everybody talks about your name. So I have a position, a vice president position here. Are you interested? Of course, after that, I didn't hear anything. Everything he said, I don't know, vice president. I could only think about being promoted, right?
Not the problem.
Yeah, and then I said, of course, I'm interested. So he said, come back to Brazil and we'll talk. And then when I got there, the first thing he said is that, look, out of 13 companies in the world that manufacture airplanes that are evaluated every year in terms of the quality of their customer service, we are number 13. And we're far from number 12. In other words, for us to be bad, we have to improve a lot. The challenge is, in 5 years, we want to be number 1. Are you in or out? Well, I was still thinking, vice president, promotion, raise,
sure.
Then I said, of course I'm in. And then when I started learning what the problem was and I realized the size of the problem, I said, oh my God, what did I do? And I realized that I wouldn't be able to turn things around if I did only the things I learned on my MBA. I had to do things different. And guess what? What made me grow was the customer. So why not put the customer in the center? So I brought the customers in. I talked to them. I understand what they needed, what were their expectations, and then I realized that I had to create a methodology called NICE. NICE is an acronym for Nurturing Insights About Customers' Expectations. In other words, how do I understand what these guys really need, really want, what will make them happy? And how can I change my offer as a consequence, my delivery, so that I'm always delivering what makes them happy? And for me to do that, I had to focus on 4 main pillars: processes, tools or technology, people, and culture. Most consultants, they treat people and culture as one thing. I don't. For me, they're very different. People is something from inside out, while culture is something from outside in. And we separated that and created a lot of projects to turn the business around. As a business, we were lousy. I mean, the results were ridiculous. And with those changes, very quickly, we improved the customers' perceptions. And we were able to improve the profit and the service levels, everything. Every KPI you can imagine improved because of that focus, and always speaking the language of the customer. In 2 years, after 5 years, making a long story short, in 5 years, Embraer became the number one, and they are still the number one today. Wow. I only stayed 2 years in that position.
In terms of satisfaction?
Yes, in customer service. And then I stayed there only for 2 years, because in 2 years I improved so much the volume of sales of the business I took over that someone thought that I could sell anything. Yeah, and then they invited me, why don't you go to the contracts for the sales of business aircraft? So I became the vice president in charge of that. And my job was to sell airplanes to very, very, very wealthy people. In other words, people that never heard the word no as an answer. And if I've learned a lot in terms of customer experience by doing that, or transforming the organization, when you go sell to Arab sheiks, billionaires of the internet, politicians, celebrities, it's intravenous customer experience knowledge.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much. And during 4 years, I did only that, and I was very successful. We sold a lot of business aircraft. And then after that, Bombardier found me, and they basically said, look, would you like to do exactly the same thing that you do in Brazil, but in Canada for commercial aircraft? And I said, why not? So I never actually thought of moving or immigrating to Canada, or to any place. Actually, I wanted to go and spend a year or two and come back, but never immigrate. But then they brought me here. I had 7 years at Bombardier, selling airplanes first to commercial customers, airlines, people that don't have money. So it's a very different way of doing things. But I spoke the customer language, so that was successful. Then they asked me to do the same for services, so I sold services. And then at a certain point, Bombardier, they spun off one of the products, the Q400, to another company that became de Havilland. And then de Havilland invited me to join them. So I left Bombardier, went to de Havilland. Very quickly, I realized that I was too old for that, because the then leader, he knew nothing about my expertise or the things that I was in charge of, but he wanted me to do things his way, right? So he wanted to tell me what to do and how to do. And I told him, look, I'm not the person for the job. We got to an agreement. I left the company, and I didn't know what to do. Why? Because when we got to this agreement, that was at the very end of 2019, I went to Brazil to take care of my parents. When I came back to Canada, guess what? There was no Canada. Everything was closed. The pandemic started, and I was jobless. And I was, and there was no way I could find a job. My industry, aerospace, melted, while the other industries, they were not hiring. They were actually firing. So I didn't know what to do. And I have a friend, Yusuf. He's a Brazilian that lives here, and he's a professor at Humber College. And he basically said, you know what? That nice methodology, you can't preclude the world to succeed using that. You have to share that. So join us at the Chartered Institute of Marketing Management of Ontario. He was the president back in the day, to start to spread that. And I accepted. A few months later, he convinced me to start my own company. Still in the middle, and actually the apex of the pandemic. So I started my company in November 2020 to sell the knowledge about customer experience. So my job is to help companies to transform the way they do business in a way that they put the customer in the center. without giving up operational efficiency, because there's no way you can deliver
Without that.
quality experiences to customers if you don't deliver what you promise. So you have to have operational efficiency, but you can't put the focus on the operation alone. You have to put the focus on the customer and do the operation right, so that you can not only make customers happy, but be happy with profits. So I did that. I spent 1 full year trying to sell. I didn't sell a thing. It was a painful year. It was zero income. And then I had an opportunity in Brazil, and I went there. And then after that, another one. So most of my income today comes from Brazil. Big companies, global companies, and I became a professor at one of the most relevant universities in Brazil, called INSPER, and that's what I do today. And finally, I did what I said that I would do when I was 8 to 10 years old. Finally, I'm helping to transform the people's days because of the experience that I deliver, and that I teach people how to deliver to their customers. A long story, but I guess it gives you an idea how customer experience actually got me to where I am today.
Perfect. Covering lots of things.
Lots.
And
the two things that I would really pull out of that are, again, in terms of the audience with the Next Level Business Academy, the people that you're trying to speak to, sort of small business owners or people who tend to be very strong technically, but maybe don't have all of the chops in terms of business building. They've been successful, but then they kind of hit a plateau at some point in time. So what I can pull out of the story that you told is, first of all, how so many really rewarding careers come from these, what's the word? It's not luck. I don't want to use the word luck because you created it, right? But it is the luck that you created that allowed you to keep moving forward, right? And the way that you created that luck is by being very customer focused. And we can translate that word to say it's not just customers in terms of people who are buying product or services from you, but it's people who you need to provide value to of some sort. So you're obviously, if you treat your bosses like a customer, if you treat your customers like a customer, or anybody else that you need to have do something for you, that sort of to me is a customer orientation. It's sort of human orientation to the people that are relevant for the business that we're trying to build, right? So that customer orientation, I think, is really important. When you do that very well, it just naturally opens a lot of doors. It also closes a lot of doors because you're going to be working against other people's interests at times as well. So you need to be very clear about what your purpose is. Yeah. And there's a lot of politics in there. Yeah. And it's the way that you described it is that it just all kind of happened. Yeah. And whether you were aware of it or not, there is a lot of politics. You're playing the political game very, very well. So I think there's two things we need to talk about is this customer orientation in a broader sense of how do we really understand what the people we want to do something for us, how do we serve them in a meaningful way while still honoring our needs, and how do we manage these politics, these power games that are not necessarily negative, but it's, in these games of how do I get you to do what I need and I'll do for you what you need, and how do we manage our power? That's sort of when you're talking about the operational piece, we have to keep our power. Yeah.
So what is interesting is that typically when you think about a startup, for example, or any business, right? When you start the business, it's typically because you had an idea. Someone had an idea of something that could be that will solve a problem of someone else.
Yeah.
By the way, the definition of a customer is someone that is served by whatever we do.
Yeah.
So it can be your spouse, it can be your boss, your internal customer who is, if you don't do what you do right, they won't be able to do what they do right, so they won't be able to serve the end customers. So everybody is a customer at the end of the day. But what typically happens is that when a technical guy that knows everything about the product, they fall in love with the product, and the product is everything.
Yeah.
And then they develop everything around the problem, the product, sorry. And then they create the engineering that will develop the product, the manufacturing that will actually build that thing, the supporting areas that will allow that business to function. They create everything, all the procedures, all the processes, all the, the way of doing things. And just at the very end, after everything is ready, that's when the customers come. And guess what? They will have to buy from you the way you want to sell, not the way they want to buy. Mm-hmm. And that's the mistake. Of course, normally this is how things grow. You have to keep in mind that I'm not here to sell what I want to sell. I'm here to sell what they want to buy.
Exactly.
Because if I sell what I want to sell, and at some point they realize that they're not getting the value they expected from what they bought from me, why would they buy from me again?
How do you, because you do mentoring as well, so you do consulting and also mentoring, how do you help people really to get past their own blindness and their own biases? How do you help them really to genuinely understand what the other person wants?
Yeah, when I'm talking to a very technical guy, the first thing I ask is, do you love your product? And they will say, "Oh, I love it." That's course. The result of my life work is years. This, right? Yeah. So it's the last 30 years. Yeah. This is the result of 30 years of learning, of developing and stuff. And I said, "Okay, so how do you feel when someone buys your product or takes your product, use it, and are successful because of your product? Isn't that an amazing feeling?" Oh yes, it's great. I finally realized that, I got there, right? So I did it. I say, great. So what if I tell you that this person, just like you, is changing and changing very fast? Every day they have a different expectation because there's a new technology, a new way of doing business, a new app available. Yeah, everything is changing. So wouldn't you love to be able to have the same feeling over and over and over and over again? Wouldn't it be great? Oh, that would be great. So you can't focus on your product. You have to focus on what they want and how you can use those 30 years of studies, of development, of whatever, all that knowledge that you accumulated, and you are the best person in the world to do that. Why don't you put that at the service of those people? Yeah. Because then you're not going to sell once, you're going to sell forever. Yeah. Because as long as you're seen by your customer as someone that solves their problems and makes them happy, they have a good feeling about buying from you, they will keep buying from you. And by the way, if they see enough value, and value is basically you have to evolve the understanding of value and change your offering so that they will always see your offer as value, then the more value you deliver, the more you can charge. Yeah. And when they see an alternative solution that is cheaper, they will look at it and say, it's not the same. And they will pay more. Yep. People pay more if they see value. When they they only focus on price, it's not because, because they're cheap. It's because they're not seeing the value.
And they're not understanding really how it can solve. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, let me just. Sure. I just want to reiterate because I think that point that you made is really, really important because there's so many people that we all work with that are so focused on their product. And one of the things that I tell people when I'm working with them in that context, and I have to give myself the same advice as well because I, like everybody, I fall in the trap of I've got this great thing.
Me too.
I think is human nature. But really getting people, and this is what you were saying, I'm just saying in a different way, which is become a problem solver as opposed to a solution provider. Yeah. So it's when you think about engineers, for example, who really, they've developed this great product, but they're actually really good problem solvers. And most people who are really passionate about what they're doing, they actually understand the situation really, really well. And they just happen to have found a solution that worked really well in a certain circumstance. But their greater strength is actually really understanding what the problem is and helping the client to figure out how to solve that problem with their product, with their service, if it's appropriate. And that's the thing. When you get these people that are very technical to understand the impact they can cause,
that all that knowledge can be transformed in something that can change someone else's life,
Literally.
improve other people's lives, then they understand that falling in love with the product is not the best strategy.
Yeah.
And in Brazil, we have a saying. The free translation in English doesn't sound that good, but in Portuguese is great. It's basically the father of an ugly child think that the child is beautiful.
Uh-huh.
So-
I think there's an expression like that. The mother thinks that too.
Exactly. So the thing is, once you develop something, you always see that as the best thing ever. But you're not the one buying that product.
Yeah.
It's someone else that is buying. So why don't you use your knowledge, your competence to deliver something that they will love? And because you know how to do it, you are in the best possible position to deliver value.
Awesome. And Sergio, let me. I love it. Everything related to that, and let me just add another layer into that. It's what I understand. We have the value creation, like from the technical part, but we have the value perceived by the customer, and sometimes there's a gap between those, right?
Yeah.
Can
Customer
you give me,
must be stupid.
right, right. But do you have like some tips? It could be something simple or something very straightforward or something more complex, because there's lots of companies they have afraid to talk to customers first of all. But do you have any tips to bridge that gap?
Yeah. Well, first, a lot of companies think that customers are a good problem to have. That's the start of the end, right? So that's where you're signing, your death certificate, right? Because customers are not a good problem to have. They are the reason why you're in business, why you develop that amazing product, so that someone can enjoy it, can solve a problem with it, right? So they are your purpose. Make them happy. But the thing is, the definition of satisfaction is the feeling that nothing is missing. So if you create an expectation and you deliver less than that, there's no way your customer will be satisfied. But the problem is, typically a car salesman, they will talk about all the beautiful things that the top car on the lineup has, all the amazing features, and then you fall in love with that car, but you only have money to buy the simplest one. When you get the car, you spend the next 3 years saying, this car is a piece of junk. I would say something else, but it's a piece of junk.
I have no idea
Why?
what that word would
Because because the features are not there. So you created a very high expectation and you deliver below it. You're delivering exactly what you promised, because when you signed the contract, the person knew that those features would not be there. Those functionalities would not be there. But the feeling of driving the car every single day from A to B, from B to A, knowing that, oh, where is that button? Oh, I don't have that. Oh, what if I had that, thing or that other thing, right? So you have to be very careful on how to manage expectations, how to create expectations, and how to manage expectations. Because if you deliver to the customer expectation, they will be happy. If you create the right expectation,
And
easy.
in my experience, but I think you can probably say this much with much more wisdom, is getting customers to understand what they're really going to get is actually problem solving with them. Not just saying, here's the solution, I've got the magic solution for you, but actually engaging them in a conversation. And obviously you don't do this for every product. If it's a small, inexpensive product, you don't. But if it's more of a consulting sale or a bigger product or something, really working with them so that they really understand what the problem is, that they understand the parameters of how the solution could be created. And then by the time you've negotiated the contract and sort of help design what that client is going to get, they're kind of excited because they feel like they're part of the solution as well. Yeah.
Humans need to feel that they are in control, and they need to feel that they are important, that they are loved. When you try to push to them something that is not what they want, they feel unimportant. Because it's just a solution that anyone can get, right? It's a swag. It's something we all get. The thing is, when you help, when you bring the customer to develop the product, co-creation, you create a solution that will be what they actually need, that makes them feel important, and their level of satisfaction is bigger. And guess what? Our brain is wired to behave like this. If you recommend something, or if you say that something is good, it's very difficult for you to step back.
Because
So
there's a piece of you there, right?
If you help to develop a solution, the father of an ugly child thinks that the child is beautiful, so you will love the solution. And then if you tell people, this is an amazing solution, I was part of that solution, it's very difficult for you to turn your back to that solution. And that's the secret of customer experience. You have to help the customer to feel like they are part of the solution that was created, so that they will never turn their backs to you. They'll keep coming back to buy more. And Embraer, for example, when we developed the Phenom family, it's 2 airplanes, Phenom 100 and Phenom 300. We invited the customers to come join us to help to design the airplane.
Nice.
So we developed an airplane that is exactly what the customers wanted to fly. Guess what? The Phenom 300 is the best-selling aircraft in its category for 10 years straight.
Wow.
The most successful airplane ever.
Wow.
Because it was not an airplane that we said, oh, this is what you customers need.
The group of
No,
engineers.
this is customers. What do you need? Oh, let's figure out a way to use our knowledge to come up with something that will make you happy. And it is making them happy. And they keep buying. By the way, it's a $12 million airplane. It's not for, you buy to sell tomorrow. No, it's expensive, right? So I guess that's the way, bring the customers in. And by the way, I just realized that I didn't answer your first question, because you asked about the politics involved in the process. Yeah.
So can I actually interject there? Because in terms of the entrepreneurs that we've all worked with in different ways, or people who are running smaller businesses, there's so many times that they feel disempowered. Yeah, they feel like, I can't control that, I can't do that, I don't know how to do that, right? So they often give away their power because they either don't have the skill sets, or they don't recognize they have the skill sets to do that type of negotiation that you talked about, right? So how can people, when you're working as an executive in a larger company, it's become pretty innate to have that that sense of internal control, to have that sense of you'll figure it out, to have that sense of it's just a matter of time and getting the right people around you, and then you can make it happen, right?
Yeah.
But what about smaller business people? How do they really tap into that personal power so they can even just start that ball rolling? Because if you don't have we all know this, but it's hard to remember sometimes. We're not going to be powerful. We're not going to negotiate well. We're not going to engage people well into really strong relationships if we're not showing up with power ourselves, that internal sense.
Well, one thing that I realized when I became a vice president is that 95% of the things that I was in charge of, I had no clue how to do.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of the thing.
People were honest about that. That's the reality of it.
And if you're a CEO, it's obvious that you don't know how to do every step of the way, right? Every single function in the company. You need the experts to do it, right? And the thing is, a lot of the small companies or the entrepreneurs, they think that they have to know everything and they have to control everything. And power is about control. And what I've learned over the years is that...
Some types of power are about control.
No, but look, in general, I think that power is not about control. You use control as a tool to highlight your power in some instances. But power is really the ability to mobilize the resources and the people to do what needs to be done.
Which is influence.
To engage people.
It's the fundamentals of leadership, right? So
power.
the more leader you are, the more power you have.
Exactly.
And there's this guy, he is a general at the U.S. Air Force, Goldfein, David Goldfein, I guess. He used to say that leadership is a gift that we get from the people we serve. So it's all about giving up the power to be able to be powerful. When you understand that, and I advocate that, I became a how do you call that? Oh my God, I forgot the expression. It's the servant leader. I became a servant leader when I understood that I was more powerful, when I
Yeah.
shared my power and I gave my power to others so that they can execute,
Yeah.
and they then became allies and they pushed me up.
Yeah.
And they gave me ways to do more.
And part of that is recognizing what your strengths are, which is bringing people together,
Yeah.
finding different ways to solve a problem or to understand the problem, and being able to get people to come together and work together, right? There's real power in that.
Yeah. Typically, the big leaders are not that strong themselves. It's
Yeah.
just that they are able to move the mass.
Yeah.
They are able to put people to give them the power.
Yeah.
Right?
And the smart people, the people who are really, I mean, you've
Exactly.
said it a few times already, the people who are technically very, very competent and understand that, and getting them to come together and figure out what to do.
Exactly. And when I started working when I became a vice president, and I had those 320 people to do the job, and they were not able to do. That's why we were so bad. What I realized is that when I was able to give them power, empower them to do the job, because they were the experts, they knew how to do it. And at some point I realized that they were doing their job, and they found a roadblock, and then they would ask me to come and solve the problem. And when I solved the problem, they would kick me out and say, "Okay, go back to the to your beautiful office and let me do the thing here." That's when you realize that if you give your power to other people, if you are self-confident enough to put yourself in that vulnerable position of allowing others to define what you have to do, how to use your the power that was given to you, then you're in a position where people start to give it back to you, right? So I became more powerful the more I got people to take ownership of what they did, be autonomous and make decisions and get things done, using my power as a tool. And that's what I would suggest. If you're a small business owner, if you try to control everything, I can assure you, you will not succeed, because there's no way you can
The
control everything.
micromanager.
Yeah.
And the more you micromanage, the more people find a way around it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
They will find ways, like water. Water always finds a way to, to get where it wants to go. So what I suggest is that understand who are the people that you can trust, that you can empower, give them competence to run their process, their business, and let them do it. The more they feel empowered, the more they will support you as the leader. And then you can focus on what really matters, is define where is this business going, what we have to do to keep those customers happy, get them to keep buying from us over and over and over and over again, right? Because if you're too focused on the day-to-day life, or focused on trying to do everything yourself, forget it. And by the way, another thing that I realized is that at some point I had to map the profile of the people in my team, because I realized that there was a lot of people doing things that they didn't like, that were completely different from what their profile was. So a guy that had a profile of an artist was working with an Excel file every day, all day long, right? So that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Right? So I mapped the profiles, and you know what I figured out? Back in the day, I used the Myers-Briggs Type Index, MBTI, which a lot of people criticize, but for that particular
it serves a
moment,
purpose.
yeah, it was very good for that particular purpose. And I realized that I am an ESTJ. Guess what was the profile of all the people that I thought were the best people I had?
Yeah.
ESTJ.
Yeah.
They were exactly like me.
Because
And
you're
guess
seeing you in
what?
the mirror.
If I can solve the problem by myself, and I surround myself with people just like me, what are the chances that I will solve the problem? None. And that's the thing. Sometimes, and once I was going somewhere, and I had a few hours to spare at the airport, and I found a yellow book called "Weird Things That Work." And I bought the book. I was intrigued by the
You
name,
have
and I
to.
got it, and I started reading, and it said, basically you have to do everything the opposite of what you learned on your MBA.
Yeah.
First thing, you have to hire people that you don't like. Not everybody, but you have to hire a few people that you really don't like.
For the right reasons.
Exactly. because those are the people that will challenge you,
Yeah.
that will say that you're wrong, that will get you to think differently.
Yeah.
Those are the people that will make you grow.
Yeah.
And you have to have different perspectives. So diversity, I don't know if you ever heard of the wealthiest woman in Brazil is called Luiz Helena Trajano. She is the owner of a retail company that is huge, one of the biggest in the country. And she and once she created a program to hire black people, only black people. She didn't stop hiring white people or any other people, but was one specific for black people. She was highly criticized because that was discrimination and blah, blah, blah. And then we were talking and she told me, Sergio, all I wanted to do is to do something really basic. 70% of the people I sell to are black people or mixed, right? But in my leadership, I have nobody that is a black person that come from where they came, from where they come. How can I ever understand those customers if I don't have people like them working in my leadership?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was, for me, it was amazing because that's exactly the thing. We can't do diversity because someone says it's the right thing to do. Oh, we have to put an extra line in our ESG report. We have to look good in front of whoever. It's because it's smart. Because
it's
you can
really
make
good
money
for business.
Exactly.
And it's more than just understanding customers in terms of that situation, but it's also just seeing bigger perspectives and being challenged on things that you might have real blind spots on.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's when, those types of experiences, they helped me over the years to understand how to turn around businesses, focusing on the customer. Again, don't do diversity for diversity's sake.
Yeah.
You have to do diversity because you have an objective, which is bring people that will help you to understand people that are different from you.
Yeah.
Hire people that will help you to understand other perspectives that will make you grow, that you see things different. And that's basically what I try to help companies to understand, that putting the customer in the center is not about hugging trees. It's about business. It's about being effective on delivering solutions that will work, that will make money, right? So focusing the customer, doing the right thing, serving other people is the right thing to do, because it's great to see, to know that he's going to go to bed today better than when he woke up this morning because he had the opportunity to interact with me. That's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. But it's also the smartest thing to do, because I know that this guy, it will be very hard for him to buy from someone else if he feels like that's about me. So it's the smartest thing to do and the right thing to do. But about the politics, I really want to answer that question. I don't know how much time we have.
No,
but
we have a few minutes.
Yeah. What happens is there's a lot of politics of all sorts. When I was at Embraer, the top leadership, they all came from one specific university called ITA, that was really literally neighbors to the company. So it's the best engineering university in the country, and the top guys, to get in there, you have to be way beyond average. And those guys were the top guys at Embraer. And I was not. I was from Poly, which is a different school.
It's still one of the best of the country.
It's I would say the second best, but it's not the best, right? So they saw me like like a cockroach.
Come
right?
on.
So, don't bother me. And it was tough for me to grow. But I was only able to grow because first I spoke the language of the customer, but most of all, when you start to show up as a threat to the establishment, there will be consequences. There will be pushbacks. There is antibodies in the system that will try to kill you, to annihilate you, to push
Eliminate
you out.
Yeah.
But if you help those guys to look good in front of their bosses, they will respect you and they will bring you to the table, because guess what? They want to grow as well. They have their objectives. If you help them to look good, if you help them to grow, they will bring you together. They will bring you to grow as well. That's fundamentally what I did. Because first I realized that I couldn't do things by myself. I needed help. And I knew that if I tried to create a revolution, I wouldn't succeed. And by the way, there's 3 ways of changing things: evolution, revolution, and transformation. Evolution takes forever. Once it changes, it never goes back to what it was, but it takes forever. Revolution, you do it instantly. You kill everybody and you create a new way of doing things, and guess what? Huge pushback, a lot of antibodies, and people will sabotage whatever you do. Very frequently, after a few months, you go back to how things were before, but with less committed people. People that want to stab you in the back, basically. And there's transformation, which is it's in between the two. Transformation takes long, but much less than evolution, and it's a way to get people involved with what needs to be done. And when you do that, you're not killing what exists today to create the new thing. Because if you do that, you're basically provoking those people that are doing the same thing for the last 30 years. But if you transform, basically saying, my friend, you are the expert. I can't do that myself because you know how to do it. I need you. Why? Because look at this. Look how we can be better through you. Can you help me? And when you start to talk to people and touch their egos and get them to feel important, like we said before, humans need to feel important, need to feel in control. When you bring them to the project, like when you invite there's in Portuguese we say rádio peão, which is that radio that leaders can't dial. You can't find that, but there's a lot of communications going on in that radio.
Yeah. In English, it's the grapevine.
The grapevine.
Yeah.
And when you invite those people that are the ones that mobilize that exercise, bring them to the project. Yes. Bring the top experts. Bring the people that everybody recognizes as
the informal leaders.
The good guys, informal leaders. Bring them and ask them to help because you're not capable of doing that alone. Yeah. Explain to them their role and how important they are, how much impact they can cause, and how they can be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. And they will engage. And once they engage, the politics are very different because, again,
they're with you now.
They are with you. They want, because there's 2 ways you can advertise something. You can say, look, see how good I am, what I did, and the results I brought. There's another way, which is, look what that area did. They are amazing. I wouldn't be able to do it myself. So when I did this, without them, I wouldn't succeed. Oh, look at what they did, what they could bring as a result to the business. That leader is saying, oh my God, he likes me and he's making me feel good. So you got yourself an ally without asking for an alliance, right? So the politics, again, if you go against them or if you try to be smarter than the others, believe me, they are there before you and they're going to kill you. They're going to eat you for breakfast. But if you engage those people, making them feel more powerful, more beautiful, more whatever they feel, they're gonna support you. That's how I became one of the top leaders at Embraer without coming from that school. Wow. If I was not the first, I was probably one of the first because the way to get there was to make those people feel good about what I was doing.
Such a good learning.
Ego, my friend. Ego. You have to play with the egos.
No,
and that's not manipulation. That's influence.
Yes.
No, it's
right. So you're when manipulation means I'm gonna make you do something you shouldn't be doing, or I'm gonna cause harm to you on purpose. That's manipulation. But influence is I'm gonna make you figure out a way to do what will be good for you, that will be good for me, and then we'll both succeed.
So, unfortunately, we have to finish this podcast. And Sergio, thank you so much. But before we close, I would like to your final advice. So, if there's one mindset shift every leader should make today, it's...
That's a tough one, huh? Because I probably have 35 things that I need to say. to kind of close the
Wrap
loop.
it up.
But I would say that every leader, particularly the ones that are, trying to grow a business, started a small business and are overwhelmed with all those things they have to do, please understand that you are not God. You have to understand that you need help, and you have to find the right people to delegate. And once you do that, of course, you can't delegate to someone without competence. So you have to train people, develop people so that they can handle whatever you give them to do. But you have to, because it's virtually impossible to grow by yourself. And one good way to involve people and get people to engage is to get them to understand the impact they can cause. They can cause in the business, they can cause in other people's lives, and they can cause in their own lives. How much they can grow if they are part of the solution, not part of the problem. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. So any final thoughts, Katrina?
I love what you've described, and to me, what you've described is really this connection between power. To me, politics and power are not the same thing, but we have to think about them both at the same time, and how that connects with the relationship. That if we really are wise about how we show up with people, how we engage with people, we can make so many things happen. Yeah, and we have to be patient. Patience is fundamental, because there's something in our brains called amygdalas. The amygdalas are structures that will collect all the inputs from the outside world and decide whether this is a threat or an opportunity. If it's a threat, the brain will release hormones and neurotransmitters like adrenaline, cortisol, and they will prepare you for a fight if it's a threat. But if it's an opportunity, they will make you feel good and you will enjoy that opportunity.
Bring excitement.
People will react to whatever you do. You don't control what they bring. You control the baggage people bring to the interface, to the relationship, particularly customers. But you can control how you behave and how you handle those things. If you are patient enough, you have the mental power, the emotional stability. You can transform the relationships with patience, and then you adapt. Instead of exploding, count to 10. Counting to 10 means when people say something you don't like, you are allowing, because there are triggers in your brain. And the second trigger is the amygdala, the self-protection. While the sixth one is the logic. So we react before we think. When you count to 10, you give yourself the chance to think before you react, and then you can deal with the politics a lot better. But if you simply react, I can assure you it's going to be a train wreck.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Sergio, for being here today. And I hope you enjoy your episode today. And I'm going to drop here below all our social medias. So please follow us and stay tuned for the next episodes. Thank you very much.